to create one large 3-game late slate. FanDuel only solo at the 6 p.m., which stinks because it's the fantasy game I like the most, and then a somewhat more dicey 7:30 slate to follow. So they have basically a 1 and a 2. DraftKings has and a 3. So I'm going to break down those with a bit more of an eye towards DraftKings. My rankings are in. Again, those are for all the wonderful paying members at awesemo.com. Basically, hopefully it does two things for you. It gives you a quick A to F glance at how much appeal I have for certain players in a GPP context. And also it serves to be a player pool of and by itself. I take it directly from the DraftKings database, so you can take it and drop it right in Cruncher and derive a pool from it, and it is as defined as all the players I would have if I was building 150 lineups. These are the guys I would have at least a share of, so that's how that's quantified. Early games going largely as we expected them to. I see we have a number of people with a couple of decent sweats. I think we did a pretty good job on the big pivots. I'll spend, 90 seconds talking about this before we talk about the 3 late games. Liking Lillard a lot and liking Doncic relatively less appears to have been working out. There were just a few things I was worried about with Luka. Again, there's 8 minutes left in this game, and he's sitting on 31, 32 fantasy points. So certainly he's got the talent to turn that into 50 in 7 or 8 minutes, but do feel like it was a good day to move opposite him. And on DraftKings, even for saving some money, I thought Lillard was a much better choice. And so did the crowd. Lillard was about 10% higher owned, but that has proved to be the case. Disappointing for me from Nurkic, but again, foul trouble, his per minute production is pretty brilliant. He's got 18 points and 9 rebounds, an assist, and a block. He's 9 for 10 from the field. He's played 18 minutes due to foul trouble. So I think my and many other people's analysis of this should be a smash bot was correct. If he'd have stayed out of foul trouble, I really think you could have seen a pretty massive number here, but especially at that DK price under 8K, still think you have a very decent chance of getting to 40 here, and it does look like the starters will see continued time. This only an 8-point game now with a little under 7 minutes to go. Aminu, as expected, was shit. Harkless, as expected, was shit. McCollum, I do think I was relatively low on relative to other people, just based on me not expecting him to shoot ridiculously the rest of the year. You could have had another blockbuster today, but looking at the box score, no blocks were busted. 12 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. So 22, 23 DraftKings points. 5 for 14 from the field. 0 for 5 from 3. That's obviously a lot of luck in a small sample size that based on 5 shots. But at the ownership, it did seem right to go under there. Zach Collins, larger presence in the rotation again, up to 15 minutes. Again, I was concerned with Layman, his inability to pick up peripherals as a punt. 9 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 turnovers, that's all. So, yeah, 1,000 fantasy points out of him, disappointing. But, all those, random value guys and small forwards there. You got, 15 minutes out of Collins, 19 out of Layman, 15 out of Turner, 21 out of Hood, which I guess is notable that he's got a slightly larger role. Looking over at the Mavs real quick, Powell over Kleber appears to have been the correct fulcrum in that situation, although my reasoning didn't really hold up. They're basically just chopping the center minutes as of right now with, again, 6 minutes and change to go. Kleber has played 19. Powell has played 20. Powell has been more productive, which, again, you wanted the guy who has less time against Nurkic, but that is to some degree bullshit. Kleber is 4 for 12 from the field. Powell is 2 of 3. Powell's got more fantasy points, but if you play this out and give them each 20 minutes again and you get 3 shots out of Powell and 12 out of Kleber, it will not often play out this way, so meh. Hardaway on the top end of what we thought we'd get at him, 20 and 3 and 3. So that feels okay. Then looking at the Lakers game, I did not expect Reggie Bullock to start, and my largest impetus for this was the fact that I said Coach Walton said, yeah, we expect him to get minutes tomorrow. It's odd to say, on Saturday, yeah, I think that guy's going to get minutes tomorrow, and then on Sunday start him. That's just an odd combination of things. Obviously, it's not strictly contradictory and makes some sense. But he started and has just been awful. So, again, hard to look at that as a good call. But I was relatively low on Bullock. A lot of people asked about him, and I think I generally shit on him. He's played 19 minutes. He has missed all 3 of his shots. He has an assist and a block. So, don't even know. Like JaVale McGee a lot. Actually, this whole slate went very well. I like LeBron, and he's been terrible, so it's not like I got everything right. JaVale McGee destroying 19 and 11 with an assist and a steal and a block in 21 minutes. I didn't realize that. That is a serious ass-kicking, so hopefully those watching the show did end up over the field on him. Rondo not starting, again, obviously came as a surprise for me. Only 9 minutes in the first half. 5 assists and 3 rebounds in those 9 minutes, which is fine, but his time getting shrifted like that going to be a bit of a beating. LeBron starting to turn it on a little bit now, 12, 7, and 7 in 21 minutes. Ingram, the big surprise relative to what we thought 3 hours ago. Once you have Rondo starting, or not starting, that's really good news for Ingram. And I think it's the right thing to do for the team. You let Rondo run the second unit, which is going to make it significantly better. And LeBron and Ingram can handle the first team point guard. So Ingram having a pretty good first half. We're now into the third quarter halfway, but 14, 4, and 4. He's going to be a lot better with him out of there. And Kuzma obviously doing what he does, taking a lot of shots. And when he makes most of them, he ends up being good. 27 points, doesn't tend to do a lot else, but he was my favorite of those mid 5K plays. And it does get better once you take Rondo out of there also. And then the 76ers, I had Embiid as my top overall scorer if he played. And yes. 33 and 10, 2 assists and a steal. I underestimated how heavily the field would be on him and how quickly they would pivot. I said basically during the show that because he hadn't been confirmed in by FanDuel lock that I thought he'd be 10% on FanDuel. He was 20. And I said that due to the fact that people aren't as diligent with late swapping, that he'll be like 20% owned on DraftKings for their whatever the 330 slate. Or for the main slate rather, people swapping into him. And he was a little over 40%. But yes, he's destroying things, which really shouldn't be surprised in this spot. There's a bit of an overperformance, but can't complain. So that's great. Ben Simmons looks like shit. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, and I won't take the time now because we have games to look forward to. But it'll be interesting to see how the Fantastic Five here continues to, produce. But really even, shot distribution. Right now, Embiid's got 15 shots. The other 4 guys have 8, 9, 10, and 11. And largely as predicted, that makes the bench unit pretty useless here. Ennis got 10 minutes off the bench, did very, very little. He got 3 fouls, which doesn't seem good, and a rebound. Boban played 7 minutes, was fun to see him out there. 2 points, a block, and an assist, so not even a point a minute, so not exciting. And this game does not appear like it will blow out as a 5-point game, but there is your update that you didn't ask for. Hopefully everyone has joined us now, looking for a thing to retweet. It does not exist, so give me just one more second as we pull up the YouTube video of this here show, and I can tweet that out, and then we can live before. Boban played 7 minutes. Hey, look, it's me talking. Okay. All right, let's take that, go over to the Twitter sphere, fire that bad boy off, and then get into these 3 late games live now. All right. Again, we've got a 6, a 7:30, and an 8:30. The first game, my favorite of these 3 games, pretty significantly. My order of liking teams sort of goes straight through the slate. Like, I think if I had to pick how much I like choosing players from teams today, it would literally go something like Kings, then Suns, then Magic, then Hawks, then Warriors, then Heat, something like that. But definitely first game my favorite, definitely last game my least favorite, and in the middle I'm a much stronger favorite of the Magic than the Hawks. So yeah, let's start about the first game. Again, this is a solo slate on FanDuel. If we have time, I'll take some questions as opposed to Captain, MVP, All-Star, Waterboy, whatever the specific roles are for the 2.0, 1.5, 1.2 scoring there on the FanDuel. We have gotten a starting lineup, and it will be Tyler Johnson, point of fact, moving into the starting lineup. He's really good. Well, he's not really good, but as far as value goes on this slate, he's really good. I was going to say something about the all-day slate on FanDuel, but there's no late swap. You would have had to make those choices already, and if you're playing at 6 p.m., I don't know if they have a 3-game late slate with some modicum of tournament support behind it, but largely we can't talk about players from this game on FanDuel outside the context of in Showdown, in which case Tyler Johnson will again make a lot of sense. TJ is not actually a point guard. He doesn't have quite the ball handling skills. He's got some defensive inequity at times, which is going to make it difficult for him against many of the point guards now that he's out in the Western Conference. And I think this is an experiment that might go badly, but in fairness, Elie Okobo was not setting the world on fire. So TJ getting the somewhat expected nod as the starting point guard. And the reason we can say we expected that is before the last game they said he would start, and then, didn't start him. But he still got more minutes in that game than Elie Okobo, and I expect that to increase a little more here. Usage will come down versus our one-game sample size of him coming off the bench for this Suns team. But I like him a lot. I think I have him right now for 30 minutes. It's going to be within 2 of that. I'd be shocked if you got 35 or only got 25 out of him. FanDuel somehow, if you had him in the mid-4s on the full slate price, 4,400 on DK, shooting guard eligible. He makes a lot of sense. I really love both the centers in this game. Probably, and this will be the second time I said this in a week, and it did not go well last time. Willie Cauley-Stein is one of my favorite plays on the slate. This entire Sacramento team is underpriced. There's a bit of legwork to be done figuring out exactly how the minutes are going to distribute themselves, but let's talk about the Suns for a little bit more first. We'll get done with that. So Devon Booker is back. I expect him to see his full minutes allotment. I like him. I'm going to load up our late ownership, but obviously he's a player who, carries with him always a pretty massive upside. The continued absence of TJ Warren certainly bodes well for him, and no reason that he certainly can't do some very real damage here. We have him currently as our 4th highest owned player, and I like all 3 of the players above him, so that doesn't seem terribly unreasonable. We'll get into this ownership a little more in a bit, but we have Booker currently at 33%, and that's a fine number. I would probably end up being a little bit over that. I do like the game. I do like the spot. It does have the best pace. So McCall Bridges, again, a little bit more of a cashy play. He has shown the ability to pick up, an upside game and put up 40-something. He has... his offensive game is more evident and has developed over the last few weeks as opposed to the first couple months of the year where he was just, out there sort of sucking up minutes. So he's fine. He's obviously fine in tournaments on a 2-game slate, but I'm very happy with him in cash. Although, interestingly enough, I think I do slightly prefer Harrison Barnes across the ball, who I think might engender lower ownership, and I actually like, just strictly more. Let's see. Right now we have Harrison Barnes for 26%. I would want more than that. We don't appear to have McCall anywhere near that. We have him at 16. So, okay, good job, Internet. Yet again, like with Joel Embiid, you have foiled me with your clever wiles. So McCall, find a play. It's a 3-game slate, largely, we're talking about here. Or it's a 3-game slate or a 1-game slate. So McCall Bridges, fine to play either way, is going to still get a pile of minutes. Again, TJ Warren is still out. Josh Jackson, I have a feeling I would be sort of under the field on. Having Booker back, affects him more than anyone else on this team. The odds of him just going off and taking 23 shots and making 14 of them and breaking the slate have come way, way down. Is that possible? Sure. I'm not saying you can't. Someone just tweeted me as shout out to ISIS Killa Swag with the tweeting at me. Has any player ever been released from a team during a game? # Reggie Bullock. Yeah, that's harsh, but fair. Not putting up a brilliant performance. Though, in fairness, he was never that guy. Like, you've now put him on a team that has several exceptional offensive players and several dominant ball handlers. And so, there were games that he played 35 minutes and took 4 shots out there next to, Reggie Jackson and Andre Drummond and Blake, who's a legitimate offensive threat. You're now throwing him out there next to Kuzma, who has no problem taking a shot or two, and Ingram and LeBron. And I'm not, I was not despondent when I found out he was starting. I was annoyed, mostly because of, I liked Rondo a fair amount, but I'm not shocked to see him not tearing the world apart, even though he got the start. So you can make an argument that he would have been better getting his 17 minutes off the bench that I thought he was going to get than the 26 he's going to get starting. as is being evidenced here. So, Josh Jackson, look, it's 2 games slate. The guy obviously carries an upside. He will take a lot of shots. He's an athletic freak. All kinds of good stuff can happen for you. I would probably end up under the field on Josh Jackson. Booker coming back, I do think wrecks him most. I would rather pivot to other guys. I would much rather play Kelly Oubre. Now, in fairness, this is a tale of 2 sites. On FanDuel, they're 7,000 and 7,200. On DK, they are 6,259 for Oubre. So, on DraftKings, they both make a lot more sense. And Oubre even $300 the cheaper as opposed to $200 over on FanDuel. Can you play him on FanDuel? Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Again, there's no one who we expect to see certainly 20-plus minutes on the entire slate who is out of play in tournaments. Ownership is what in game design we refer to as a self-correcting mechanism, which is great. It's like booster draft or something. The more popular something is, the better it is, the more scarce it becomes, and so you end up with just getting less value out of having 60% owned Tyler Johnson than if you want to play 4% owned Elie Okobo tonight. That way you can play them both. Works nicely. I like that. I don't hate Richaun Holmes again. I like DeAndre Ayton quite a bit. I don't want to play those 2 guys together, but Richaun Holmes is a guy who's going to be like 10% owned on a 2 or 3 game slate, or apparently a 1 or 3 game slate for $3,500, $3,600, who can pick up a pile of steals and blocks, and so I would have some exposure to him in a massive pile of lineups. Let's look at DraftKings, some of them just brilliantly priced on DraftKings. Harrison Barnes, most notably, debuted last game, played 36 or 37 minutes. That's a lot of time, and 36 to 37 minutes against the Suns is good. Hashtag analysis for 5,100 on DK, or for whatever the hell the single game price is on FanDuel. I like Harrison Barnes a lot. We have him as like the 4th most popular player, and I'm not surprised. He is just too cheap. Not a guy we love, but even for the Mavs, had he been playing this much time. And again, this is a spot that I think works well for him. Bogdan, well too cheap on DK as well. It's worth pointing out, I know a lot of people use Popcorn Machine as an analytics tool, and I recommend doing so, seeing not just how many minutes someone played in a box score, but their rotations, who they entered with, who they replaced. Whether they were playing in the blowout or not is an incredibly essential tool, so I like people using popcornmachine.net, but the one downside there is they do occasionally make errors when it comes to transcribing things or scraping the data or whatever their mechanism is for doing that. They have Bogdan playing 40 minutes in the last game. He did not play 40 minutes in the last game. He played 34. That is simply an error on their part. I've had a lot of people ask me about the minutes threat for him today. I am less concerned than other people. We do have the advent of Alec Burks here. We do have Harrison Barnes getting all his minutes, but Harrison Barnes was there last game, and Alec Burks was there last game, and Bogdan did still play 34 minutes. So I have him for 31 right now, which I feel fine with. That might even be conservative. And 5,000 on DK, not unlike my crack Harrison Barnes analysis. 31 minutes at $5,000 versus the Suns. Yeah. That's pretty good. We like him, and he is, unsurprisingly, again, pretty popular. Although, 10th most popular? So I'm thinking I want to be on top of that number as well. Willie Cauley-Stein I alluded to, but the matchup is as good as it gets. I'm not referring to the Helen Hunt, Greg Kinnear, Jack Nicholson vehicle, but just the fact that it's an exemplary, tremendous matchup for him. I like both the centers in this game a lot. I don't have a problem playing both the centers. Again, taking a look at their DK ownership, which is their only relevant here. We have Vooch as the most popular center. That makes a lot of sense. We have Ayton as number 2. Sure. We have Cousins as number 3. Whiteside as number 4. Willie Cauley-Stein as number 5. My own personal exposure, I would probably move Willie Cauley-Stein above both Whiteside and Cousins. But again, I'm really dubious about that Miami Golden State game. So unsurprisingly, most players from that game are going to rank up much, much lower for me. I just, giving you a sneak preview of the analysis to come, I just think they get wrecked. And I think the pace is not that appealing, and I respect both defenses, and I'm really worried about Golden State production, much like I'm worried about 76ers production when you bring out, multiple really good basketball players at the same time. Not only do you have sort of a case of diminishing returns just well, just in general, you have 2 really good basketball players on a team and 3 guys standing around not doing a lot. Okay, you kind of know the way that's going to go. When you put 5 really good guys who can shoot out on the court, you're just going to have games where guys who otherwise are good basketball players just don't show up because it doesn't happen to go for them and everyone gets fewer shots. Let's look at the 76ers starters tonight. Go back to the world when they're running out, Saric and Covington were very happy to be supplementary pieces. You could see guys get a lot of shots. Embiid's got 16 shots and he's made 12 of them, which is what he's going to have to do at his price. Like, all these prices are going to continue to come down on the 76ers and the Warriors. So they're sharing the court with too many goddamn all-stars. But, Jimmy Butler has 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. He's only taken 8 shots. Again, it's not because he's not good, just relative to the other guys on his team. Ben Simmons has 4, 3, and 7. That's not good. Tobias Harris is 9 for 13, has 22, 6, and 4. So, as of right now, Redick is good, Harris is good, Embiid is very good. Simmons and Butler are shit. So it's going to be obviously a little bit difficult. Checking news. Would you play Stein and Ayton together? Yes, I'd rather play them together. I'm fine with playing one of them, but they have positive correlation net. So, yes, playing Cauley-Stein and Ayton together. Is Whiteside even a thought today? Absolutely he's a thought today. He's actually done very well against Boogie in the past, although it's a couple years removed. He hasn't seen Boogie. Well, in fairness, the Warriors have not played the Miami Heat since 2017, and obviously Boogie not on the Heat at that time, but Hassan Whiteside hasn't played DeMarcus Cousins since pretty sure 2017. I have my notes up, but I don't have this section dated. But he did very well in his last couple games against DeMarcus Cousins. So I do think Whiteside is a consideration still, especially obviously the DK price at 7,100. But I was a huge fan of his last matchup, which unfortunately was a night he did extremely well, and I was in the hospital, so I didn't get to share that info, and that was annoying. But if you think this game stays close, this is a Warriors team that is a little more tolerant to having Hassan Whiteside out there. I do think Bam Adebayo is a great tournament play. Works well if you think this game blows out, has an upside even if he doesn't randomly get blowout 5 minutes. Like, there's a lot of ways that can work out, and certainly not impossible to imagine, Cousins getting a couple quick fouls on Whiteside. So, I like playing Hassan Whiteside. I think he's just fine. I think he's just tournament. But I like playing Bam Adebayo as well. Sorry for bouncing all over the place, but hopefully that ends up being more useful, if not quite as linear. So getting back to finishing up on the Kings, and again, I really like this team. Bagley is fine. Again, small slate. The price is coming up now. He's one of the guys I don't think sees 30 minutes under any non-ridiculous Willie Cauley-Stein foul circumstances. How much do I like Tyler Johnson? A lot. He's probably the best value play on the slate right now. Maybe not for tournaments. I expect him to be really popular, but I think he plays, 30 minutes as a starting point guard in a nice pace-up matchup, and he costs 4.5. Like, he's not good. He shouldn't be a point guard. Can he fail? Sure, you don't have to play him. I'm not even sure if I had to play 100% of a player, I'm not sure it's him, even though he might be my favorite value play, which usually that would be in common. If you said, okay, you have to play 150 lineups tonight, and you have to put one player in all of them, usually my answer will be good chalk guy. And Tyler Johnson might be, or good chalk value guy. And Tyler Johnson might be the best chalk value guy tonight. That being said, it's very easy how he can fail. He can fail even if the minutes come through and the game stays close. Just, I played next to Devin Booker and Josh Jackson and DeAndre Ayton, and they're all better basketball players and took all the shots, and I ended with. So, yes, I like Tyler Johnson quite a lot. He's not near anything I would call resembling a must play. Tyler Johnson is only 7% owned on DK projections. Let's hope that an update is coming forthwith. I am guessing those have come. Whiteside versus Cousins, 46 DKP in 2017, 33 in 2018. There was a 2018 game. Must have been early in the year. They certainly haven't played on the Warriors. Heat haven't played the Warriors this year. Anyhow, don't have it specifically dated, but he's good regardless. Let's see. Bielitsa starting change things. Trying Josh Jackson is 22 years old today. Birthday narrative is exciting. Let me take a look at some news here before we get back into it. Kings will start Fox, Hield, Barnes, Bielitsa, and Cauley-Stein on Sunday. I don't think that changes a ton for me. He started the last game still. I'll make confirm all this. I'm pretty sure last game he played 10, 12 minutes and I believe started. And then just, Bagley comes off the bench and plays long stretches. But correction, 2016, Fat Fingers. Thank you. I was about to say, they played in 2018. I tend to, would have been a hole in my notes, and I try not to have any of those. So I just made a note to change my Cousins Whiteside notes, and apparently I don't have to. There it is. Let's see. Yes, Nemanja Bjelica started the last game and played 11 minutes. So, no, I still think he plays 10 or 12 minutes. Adding Alec Burks to that rotation, and adding Harrison Barnes to that rotation, who obviously can play down at the 4, and they're trying to give more time to Bagley, and Bielitsa is just going to be doing that ceremonial starting, getting the hell off the court thing for a while, I expect. So no, Bielitsa starting both expected and considered with rankings and commentary thus far. So let's see. Fox, I think, will go underowned for how much I like him in tournaments. There's just cheaper guys a lot of people are going to play. Bogdan at 5K and Hield at 6.6 and Barnes at 5.1, and that just means less people are going to play De'Aaron Fox at 7.3. People play Bagley too. Like, he's going to be the 5th or 6th highest owned guy here, and that is a mistake. You can get 60 out of De'Aaron Fox against the Suns. Like, you can get a massive, massive game. A couple people have asked if I'm concerned with his minutes. I do expect his minutes to be permanently lessened due to the increasing number of good players returning from injury and from trades that are present on this team. So I do think he averages, in close games, 31 or 32 minutes for the rest of the year, not the 36, 38 we were seeing for a while there. And yeah, it's concerning. That being said, 3 or 1 game slate, and the ceiling is there. So I like De'Aaron Fox a lot in tournaments. As far as how much I like them in tournaments, probably to get away from the ownership, I have Cauley-Stein and Fox as the favorite 2 guys I would want to play. Best points per dollar plays for me are probably Barnes and then Bogdanovic. So really depends exactly what you're trying to do. But most lineups I tinkered with on DK for this over the last couple hours have 5 or 6 guys from this game. And then a couple guys from the Magic. And then, a spare Draymond or Cousins or, maybe someone who happens to price in on the Heat. A little Dion Waiters in my life. But they just seem to be, more solid, more upside, just guys I'm generally more interested in playing. Sorry for the lack of good description there. Vooch and James Johnson, or Willie Cauley-Stein and John Collins on DK in a GPP. I would probably go with Willie Cauley-Stein and John Collins. I've talked about Sweet Dick Willie at length. John Collins, the price isn't that great anymore. And it's worth pointing out, again, the Hawks did play yesterday, and we had pretty significant minutes out of those guys. Both the Hawks and the Magic played yesterday. The Heat play tomorrow, or your back-to-backs. So Heat doesn't really matter. No one gets any damn minutes anyway. And we'll talk about them in a minute. There's some appeal with the Heat if this game stays close. They've traded away a couple guys. Dwayne Wade is questionable, so they're going to be playing 8 or 9 guys instead of 10 or 11 guys. They're certainly not out of play if the game stays close. I just think if I'm building one lineup for this slate, I try to get very little of that late game and just hope it doesn't stay close. Like, I don't think it is an unlikely scenario to say the Warriors win that game extremely easily. Both teams have an excellent defense. The Heat still have a fairly broad lineup structure. None of the starters play in the fourth quarter. Nobody ends up being really incredible in this game. I don't find that to be very surprising, and I can really see 7 people being good in the first game. So I have no objection to 1, 2, 3 guys in the late game. I have no problem with stacking the late game, because obviously there's a good 50, 60% chance that game stays close and several guys are good in fantasy. But yeah, you got to make a stand sort of somewhere, and I generally am disinclined to watch, the Warriors. Like, the Warriors are their own worst enemy right now, and just they have, 5 all-stars, and that's not technically correct at the moment, but 5 really good players out there, and you are going to get really evenly hashed, production because of that, and they haven't price corrected yet. I mean, if we look on, I don't know, we'll look at, I guess, DK prices are maybe the better of them. You're still playing 9-1 and 9-3 for Curry and Durant. That's down a bit. That's down $600-800 from, where they spend most of their time. It's not down enough yet. Klay Thompson, 7,300 and 6,300 on the two sides. Draymond Green, 67 and 6,000. I kind of like that. If I have to play one of these guys in tournaments, it's either Cousins or Draymond, because Cousins suffers the least proportionately from a blowout, since they're already limiting his minutes and costs towards the bottom of those guys, and Draymond doesn't need offensive production to do stupid things, so less likely to be had by the fact that everyone on the court is going into the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, I guess we'll segue to the late game, because I just already talked about it, but yeah, that's basically the analysis for me. Obviously, 91, 92, 93, 97 being the 4 price tags on Curry and Durant. Those guys are capable of destroying those prices. Even if they played four full quarters, they don't project that brilliantly to me. I have them both coming in shy of 50 fantasy points. So I can throw a lot of numbers at you. But yeah, I'm nonplussed. I'm absolutely fine. Now, there's some value I like. I'm absolutely fine if you end up with a piece of this game. Most lineups I've tinkered with, I have about 4 in front of me, end up with me being like, oh, I have enough left, I'll take Curry. I have enough left, I'll take Draymond. I like having a guy from the Warriors, but I don't want more than one. Fine if you do. You think this game stays close? You think, Draymond gets there and Curry gets there and you run it back with a couple Heat guys? That's fine. There's a real chance that lineup construction works out great. Whenever you're talking about a 3-game slate, it's really difficult to state a preference because just such a significant chance you end up being wrong. But again, this is just a world-class Warriors offense. So my best guess, if you say how many players from the Golden State Warriors are in the winning lineup tonight, this is a fun exercise. We did this yesterday with, how many Bucks will be in the winning lineup? It's like, I think probably 2. I'd be surprised if it was more. Or how many Wizards or Bulls are in that? And it's like, I think those numbers are 2 or maybe 3. How many Warriors are in the winning lineup tonight? I'd say the most likely answer is 1. The second most likely answer I'd have to think about for a while, between 0 and 2. But, I think if you build your lineup and you're like, yeah, I have Klay and Durant and Draymond, can that get there? Sure, but I definitely want to be running back some Hassan Whiteside and some Josh Richardson or some shit. Pings coming in, news coming in. Let me check a couple things. Jalen Adams is out. This does not change a lot for me. Shelvin Mack has been claimed by the Hornets off waivers. Okay, maybe some tea leaf to read there about Tony Parker's. Does Bog on the bench concern you for GPPs? No, he always comes off the bench. I like that he's on the bench because if it said he's starting, more people would play him because, I don't know. John Collins is available. That seems like a key piece of news. So let's look at the Heat now because we're doing everything ass backwards and out of order. It's certainly worth noticing that the prices of some of these guys, especially on DraftKings, but both sites are low enough where you can get there. How many Kings do I think are in the winning lineup? I'd have to think for a while between 2 and 3. Again, there's 6 teams. 8 slots in a DK lineup, so 1 1/3 is where that's going to average out. I'd be surprised if it's not 2. I kind of doubt I'd get to 3, so I will hedge back to 2, but probably 2, then 3, then 1 would be my likelihood of that many guys being in there. Dwayne Wade available. That's worse for everyone. All right, so Dwayne Wade is available. That was nice prompt news coming in right on time there. Okay, so now I like the Heat even less. Justice Winslow is a starting point guard who's going to play 30 minutes in a reasonably fast-paced game for 5,500, 6,000, 1 or 3 game slate. Clearly, that's in play. I would just rather save $1,000 to $1,500 and play Tyler Johnson. I would rather save $500 or $1,000 and play Bogdan Bogdanovic, who I do have projected for 2 less minutes, 1 less minute, but gets to play against the Suns as opposed to playing against the Golden State Warriors. Dion Waiters is certainly in play, although Wade being in stuck that one a little bit. Kelly Olynyk or James Johnson are in play. I probably, again, would rather go with James Johnson because the production does not need to come from scoring as much. Whiteside I've already discussed at length. not out of play. That FanDuel price is obviously difficult, but the ownership is going to be juicy. And this is a match in which he can sit on the court. He's coming off several good games in a row. Spoelstra has praised him. That relationship seems to be stable at the moment, if not good. So, yeah, you can do all these things. Bam Adebayo, I actually like legitimately as a tournament play. If you have other exposure to this game, if you have no other exposure to this tournament, to this game, he can just, get time versus Kevon Looney, get whatever. Maybe you get 30 minutes out of him. Again, not hard to imagine you get 2 quick fouls on Hassan Whiteside dealing with whoever comes crashing in the lane between Steph and Durant or Cousins out there. I really feel like we've talked this through about as much as we have to. I left in the player pool for the Golden State Warriors Andre Iguodala, Kevon Looney, and Jonas Jerebko, and Alfonso McKinney. Iguodala playable regardless. Looney playable regardless. McKinney and Jerebko, your favorite 2. I think this game blows out. Play is getting some low-owned tournament leveragey stuff there. Let's go ahead and look at the last game, and the last game only because I did them in a weird order, for I cannot stay on track. Let's do the Magic visiting the Hawks. Really, 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 really good matchup for the Magic. Really, really, really meh to not good matchup for the Hawks. Hawks play really fast and give up the most turnovers in the league and are shit. And the Magic could be without a key piece of Aaron Gordon tonight. Aaron Gordon, not incredibly different from our earlier analysis of Joel Embiid, although we're going to have to make some decisions with less information here. We will know nothing probably about Aaron Gordon when this slate locks on FanDuel. Oh, never mind, I'm sorry. For FanDuel, this is the first game of the... Ignore me. Okay, sorry. Let's try that again. You can't play him in the 6 p.m. slate on FanDuel, and DK will obviously have this news. So let's presume we will have perfect knowledge and discuss both these possibilities. I'm not going to have a significant objection to just about anyone on a 3-game slate. There's no one on the Magic who we expect to play any sort of reasonable minutes who won't be good. So let's play Aaron Gordon is in. A lot of people asking about Isaiah Briscoe. Isaiah Briscoe is not good at basketball, which is a small problem when using him as a fantasy quantity. A number of people have been like, he got many more minutes than Augustine last game, and yeah, they got blown out. They got spanked by last night by the Bucks. No, the Bucks got spanked by the Magic. But the point is, they were involved in a significant blowout there. Sorry, you got me. I got my gauntlet shit twisted. But right? Orlando won that game. Yeah, Orlando won that game. Yeah, Bledsoe and Middleton couldn't carry without Giannis. Sorry, I got my Mashrut. He remains questionable. Look at that. There's some apropos news. Ownership was updated. Nice. So again, let's talk through this game real quick. So let's assume Aaron Gordon is in. He's priced very well. It's a tremendous matchup. Again, he won't have as much ownership as he should. Now, I overestimated the extent to which the field would fuck up Embiid ownership, but they still fucked up Embiid ownership. Embiid against the Lakers, either FanDuel or DraftKings, should have been owned. So FanDuel, he ended up at 22%. If we'd had perfect knowledge the whole day, he would have been 40? 38? 35? DK at a much reduced price. He ended up at around 40. He should have been about 55. So it's a similar situation with Aaron Gordon. Fun to jump in there on. Shout out to the Hockey Channel for spamming the entire Slack. Yeah, bastages. Anyhow, DJ Augustine should play 28 minutes here, and Briscoe County Jr. there should play 20. I don't really want to play 20 minutes of Briscoe County. Now, FanDuel, you can drop him. Chance of a blowout in this game, playing in the blowout against the Hawks. I like it. Have fun on FanDuel. $3,500 makes sense. DK, I mean, you're stuck with it. If this game stays close, he costs $3,100. I have him projected for 20 minutes and I think 13.5 fantasy points. And that's over his average. That's me kicking him up to an almost 0.7 fantasy points a minute average. He's closer to 0.6 on the year. So that's him getting some extra because he's playing the Hawks. So it's certainly 2-game slate. You can play Briscoe. He's going to play 48 minus DJ Augustine minutes at point guard. Most likely scenario is that that's 20. Or maybe even less. Might be 18 or something. But he's fine to play as a saver there or as a hopefully I'm not counting a score on FanDuel, but giving yourself some backdoor outs there. If they cost the exact same amount of money, I have Evan Fournier for half a fantasy point higher than Terrence Ross. Let me take a look at their ownership currently. Terrence Ross, 23%. The fornicator, Never Google, is at... I can't find him. Oh, way up there, 38%. So, yeah, at that point, I'd be a little more inclined to play Terrence Ross. Although those are DK prices. Ross is a few hundred more dollars. 28 versus 33%. So, meh. But I like both those guys. Again, I want guys on the Magic. I want guys on the Kings. I want guys on the Suns. After that, I'm fine with a Hawk, a Warrior, a Heat, a Flame. I don't know what you call an individual member of a team with a singular designation like the Heat, but thankfully don't gotta figure it out. More people trashing Reggie Bullock in my timeline. Yeah, I got lucky a lot. I hated Reggie Bullock today because I thought he was going to come off the bench and only play 17 minutes. If you'd have told me, no, Reggie Bullock's going to start and I think he plays, 25, 30 minutes, I'd have liked Reggie Bullock a lot. But I didn't, and I get to pretend like it's because I was smart and not really, really lucky. The Hawks. Yeah, so, again, the minutes are not quite as shitty as they have been, but they're still shitty. Last game, which, again, was last night, Trae Young getting significant minutes, no problem. John Collins getting pretty significant minutes. It feels good. Then you're getting mid to high 20s out of like Horter and Prince and Dedmon. And then you're getting 10 to 20 off another 6 guys off the damn bench. And it's not a terribly good matchup for them. Now, 3-game slate, a lot of these guys are in play. The quick toss-up of order I would like to play these guys in GPPs is probably Dedmon at $4,800 if we're talking about DK pricing. If we think he gets 28 minutes again. Very good earlier this year against Vooch and the Magic, which I didn't even realize till now, but one game log doesn't do a whole lot for me by itself, but certainly a matchup in which he can achieve upside. The ownership, I presume, will like him at around 10%. That's my guess off the top of my head. 21%. Oh, he's forward eligible. Yep, that makes sense. I forgot he's forward eligible on DK. So 21%. I'm not surprised. Probably still my favorite, though. It's tough because you're constantly amortizing minutes projections versus how long do you think the guys are going to be. But the guys I have really no issue seeing in your GPP lineup would be Dedmon, Collins, Prince, or Young. I kind of like having one of those guys. I doubt more than 2 of those guys has a terribly good game. But it's possible. Again, Collins and Young, we can feel the most comfortable about the minutes. Collins, the price is way the hell up. We feel a little better if Gordon is out. So I forgot that I was going to do Gordon in, Gordon out. So going back to that, in the event Gordon is out, there is no one singular winner here. Amusingly enough, by the way, the last time Gordon was out was like 3 weeks ago against the Hawks. So we actually just had the exact simulacrum, if you will, of this situation. In that case, Jonathan Simmons, currently playing with the 76ers, was the other starter in this game. My best guess would be that if Aaron Gordon doesn't play, Jarrell Martin would move into the starting lineup and play about 24 minutes. And especially if there's little news before lock, I would like him quite a bit as a play. Obviously, the matchup with the Hawks is ideal. And certainly something you should be keeping an eye on. Have a Aaron Gordon plan. But if Aaron Gordon is out, no one immediately gets, apeshit crazy better. It is, obviously, it moves Jarrell Martin into being a very good play from being close to unplayable at the moment. Vooch does get Bunny on offense. So does Fournier and Ross, just because you project them for a couple more shots, a greater role in the offense. Jonathan Isaac gets boosted in a couple ways, 3 ways really. He'll get more time. He'll get to play down, spend more time at the 4 as opposed to at the 3, which is better for his point per minute production. And so he should get more time, more usage, and be in a generally more favorable position. But it's not like, oh, Gordon is out, I have to play this guy. It just makes you feel a little better about all those guys. And yeah, Khem Birch, certainly then I would expect to also be, would move into play. But I would probably stick with, there is a chance that they start Khem Birch. I don't think that is the most likely scenario to happen in the event that Aaron Gordon is out. So yeah, I would rather play Jarrell Martin. TJ, 12% in the most recent updates. How many multiples of that would you play? If I was confident in that number, which I'm not. I love our ownership projections. They are brilliant. They're the best ownership projections I have ever seen. I agree with 90% of them. That's in the 10% I currently disagree with. With him starting in that matchup, I think you will have greater than 20% Tyler Johnson. That being said, I would probably be closer to about 40%. So I'd be around 40% whether or not the actual number ends up being, say, 10 or 12, 10, 12, or 20. So we will look at that when it comes out. I don't know if we will get another update before lock, but I do think he comes in higher owned than that. Just my guess. Let's see. Have we sort of talked about everything? We've just about talked about everything. So there are a number of guys on the Hawks who are really straddling the line of playable. Jeremy Lin, 16 to 20 minutes. 4,000. You can drop him on FanDuel. That makes a bit of sense. You know, Kent Bazemore, 16 to 20 minutes. DeAndre Bembry, 12 to 18 minutes. Like, these guys can all land on 25 to 30 in that limited time. So there's other guys I would rather get to. But all those guys are, really straddling the line between reasonable plays and really trying to do weird shit to get a 1% owned guy to win. Thoughts on D Wade on FanDuel? Don't recall his price offhand, so I'm going to look that one up for you. Let's see. So that is the 2. Do I have it downloaded? The prices and everything? I do. Okay, so I'm going to talk on the 2-game slate here because I guess really there is no other slate. Wade is a shooting guard, I'm pretty sure, on FanDuel. So let me load this up and we'll talk about that. And yeah, I'll just burn through, talk about whatever you guys ask me leading up to that. So he's a shooting guard on FanDuel. He is $5,700. He is available to play. First thing I want to say is remember again, the Heat do play again tomorrow. That is not irrelevant to me. So that's, a minor cookie slightly increases the chances that those who are late do not get fruit cup. Wade costs $5,700. That's the exact same price as Terrence Ross. I obviously, or I don't know about obviously, I think Terrence Ross is a better play. I think he is good for probably a minute or two more. I think he is good for more fantasy points, and he's playing Atlanta and not Golden State. That being said, Wade makes sense in the same way that John Collins and Joel Embiid, and I'm a big fan of, and potentially Aaron Gordon. I'm a big fan of playing guys with any sort of injury designation. The odds that a guy with an injury designation is affected by it if he plays is somewhere around 5%. And I've done some data digging to this. Basically what I'm saying is if you take a player in a vacuum, in an environment, the fact that he was previously designated questionable or probable is irrelevant about 90 at least to 95% of the time, and it drops his ownership by much more than that. So just put this way, if you trended towards rostering players who had previously been questionable as opposed to trending away, that's going to be the better way to lean long term. So in a vacuum, I like playing Dwayne Wade. Now, I don't really like playing anyone in this game if I can get away from them, but again, I like playing a guy or two guys. So if you tell me, you have Dwayne Wade, great. Has pretty secure minutes when he plays. They tend to just give him his 25 damn minutes. Like, I almost believe that there was a conversation at some point between, him and Spoelstra where he was like, look, I'm going to come back. I'm going to do another year. I'm fine if I don't start. I'm fine if whatever, but you can't play me 12 minutes a night, okay? I got to play like my 25 or something because, and I haven't looked at this in a minute, but he really tends to have pretty, here's his minutes over the last 10 games he's played. 28, 27, 23, 23, 28, 28, 23, 27, 29, 26. Some of those games were close. Some of those games were not. But regardless, dude's playing 23 to 28 minutes. So you like that when looking at the Heat tonight, because when you're dealing with an above normal chance that they get their shit pushed in, it's nice to have someone who kind of, regardless of the blowout, is going to see his time. So yeah, that's all my feelings on the Wade play, which is largely ambivalent, but for a lot of reasons. Daddy likes top 5 owned on DK. Yeah, we can do that real quick. Would you rather go Draymond Green or Marvin Bagley in cash on DK? In cash, I'd have to play Marvin Bagley. Probably would end up projecting for, believe it or not, an extra minute or two. it's really hard to figure with the larger potential of the blowout in the Golden State game. But just his production comes from much more reliable sources than Draymond's. James Johnson or Looney in a DK GPP. Yeah, there's just that whole batch of James Johnson, Looney, Olynyk, Jerebko. There's just a lot of those fours where I'm very ambivalent on. On DraftKings, due to the scoring structure, I would probably slightly prefer Looney. No strong take, though. Sweating the Aaron Gordon news tilts everything. Mega. It really shouldn't tilt, in my opinion, much. You like it if you're playing Hawks or other members of the Magic, because if you're playing Hawks, you want the game to stay close. Makes that a little more likely, although it's only like a 3-point line in this game. And if you're playing members of the Magic who aren't named Aaron Gordon, they all feel a little better if you're playing him. The only guys that really like moves into a higher level of playability are, Jarrell Martin, and in theory, I guess Kem Birch. So, make sure Jonathan Isaac play really solid as opposed to feeling a little dicey at 5 to 6K, but shouldn't be too many moving pieces with the AG news. So Rondo is now unplayable, won't get many minutes off the bench and won't play in blowouts. Kind of sucks even if it works for the team. Has that turned into a blowout? Yeah, yes, it did. That wasn't very nice. 143 put up by the Sixers. Joel Embiid, 37 and 14, 3 assists, only a steal and no blocks, so that's unfortunate. He didn't quite super ceiling, but again, Embiid really good. Harris, 22, 6, 6, and 1. Not quite as good as Embiid, but certainly paid off his number. Butler, 15, 4, and 3. Simmons, 8, 7, 3, 1, and 1. JJ Redick, 21, 5, 2, and 2. I'll just get out in front right now and say I'll be fading JJ Redick next slate, where people are going to be like, with this new team, he's going to score 40 every game, because that's not how that's going to work at all. But again, 8 for 13 from the field, like we talked about on the early show. Brother's going to be efficient now. Like, there's going to be some open looks when you're out with their cast of characters. JaVale McGee, that's going to make us some money, I would think. Feels pretty good. 21, 13, 1, 1, and 1 for JaVale McGee. So nice, 4 fantasy point outing for JaVale McGee. That's going to feel pretty good. So nice. Pretty sure we were well over the field on him. Kuzma was monstrous, although once you took Rondo out of there, and at his price, he had to be 50-60% owned. I haven't looked, but $5,500 Kuzma made too much sense anyway. You kind of had to play him on FanDuel. So there is that. Someone said top 5 DK Daddy likes. Sure, let's go ahead and refresh that. Let's press the old refresh button. I've refreshed now. Number 1, Vooch, 42%. That's about right. I don't have a strong take on 42%. It's a monster spot. I'm projected for over 50 as an average. So, 60 here doesn't surprise me. Less than 40 would be really surprising. Really, really safe on a short slate. Act appropriately. But, yeah, that's just fine. Fournier, 39%. I probably want less than 39. 39 is a big number. Again, there's lots of ways to win at DFS, but of all the hero calls I've had this year, half of them been like, here's a chalky guy who I can really see failing. I can see Fournier, at 40% owned, not getting there even against the Hawks. So I would have less than 40. He's objectively a fine play at 5,000. But again, with Gordon out, he'd be even harder to fade. So 39% I probably like quite a bit with Gordon out and dislike with Gordon in. Trae Young, 35%. Yeah, I'll go under that as well. Again, it's $500 more for De'Aaron Fox, who we only have at 7% less ownership right now. So that is worth pointing out. But I think slightly under 35%, but about right. Bogdan Bogdanovic, 34%. Again, right about where it should be. Maybe slightly over for me. DeAndre Ayton, 32%. I imagine I'd have a bit less just because I like Cauley-Stein so much. I like Ayton too, just fine. But I don't know, with the utility position counting there as well, they'd be really close on DK. So again, that's about right. Cousins, 68. Yeah, if I'm playing a member of Golden State, I do think that and Draymond are the best places to start. Hield, 29. Fox, 28. Booker, 26. Probably would want to get over that. Just 26, I think on top of that. Kevin Durant is 1% less at $600 more in an infinitely more difficult matchup. And so Hassan, 24. Yeah. Terrence Ross, 24. Yeah. Dedmon, 23. All seems about right. No giant ownership holes. So earlier today we ended up with a bit of an edge going over on Embiid, and that paid out. And I'm pretty sure people listening to the show ended up over on JaVale McGee because we talked about him a fair bit. So I imagine the early slates paid us off fairly well. Right now, not looking at the late slate and being like, here are all these massive edges. So again, bet with your head, not over it. And yep. All right, so we're going to look at some specific questions with about 4 minutes to go. Embiid just declared himself the best in the league. The best what? Like player? That would be wrong. Center? Not a completely ridiculous statement. Boban was a fail. Furkan, Mike Scott, and TJ McConnell all better. Were any of them good? And several of them cost a good bit more money. So, but I didn't mind Boban. I'll own that play. Played 13 minutes. Okay, I wouldn't have hated that. 10 points, a block, an assist, and a rebound. Okay. I mean, he cost 3,000. He got 15. Am I seeing this correctly? 10, 12, 13 and a half, 14.75 for 3K on a 2-game early slate. Like, I'm not saying it was fucking brilliant, but, and, you know, there was a chance he got more than 13 minutes. Like, he got 1.2 fantasy points per minute. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't feel wonderful about it, but let's see. Furkan, 7-6-2-1. Yeah, a lot of these other guys really ended up being good. The bench guys for the Sixers here in limited time, as you alluded to. I don't think this is typical production. Furkan was 3 of 5 from the field, 7.6 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal in just 17 minutes. That's pretty good. That's certainly more than Boban, although he cost more. I don't think he was the flat min. TJ McConnell was like $800 more, but 13, 3 assists, a rebound, and 3 steals, and that's something he can do. Shot perfectly from the field, 6 for 6. You know, Mike Scott was almost the same, 7-2, 1-2. James Ennis III also played 17 minutes. He was shit. 2 rebounds. No assists, no steals, no blocks, no points, no turnovers. 4 fouls in his 17 minutes. Jonathan Simmons made his debut. 3 minutes. Just in case you're keeping track there. But yes, Boban not as good as some of the other value there. Missed the show. Barnes or Bogdan? I really like both of them. I will say Barnes. Let's see. All right, loading up some news, checking some questions and quotes. Bridges or Bogdan on DK? That for me is Bogdan. I think the upside is well more significant. Someone just tagged me with a message in the Premium General channel. Just because I'm a full service kind of host, I will jump up there. Is Booker playing? Booker is technically probable. So there is some chance that Booker doesn't play. I don't think we have... Oh, wait, we saw a starting lineup. No, we saw a specific lineup. So now he's, I'd say, 99% to play. Collins, no minutes limit, very relevant. Like him a little bit more in tournament stuff. There was some concern, back-to-back, lingering injury, that they might be a little short with him in minutes. That does appear unlikely to be the case now. So, yes, I'm a little more confident in John Collins. Still not the world's best matchup. We don't have news on Eric Gordon, which I'm frantically looking for, but we're not going to likely get it in the 90 seconds we have before lock here. So have a plan. Make sure you have your appropriate players in your late swappity slates positions. A little bit of overlay on DK, by the way, for this late slate. Not a ton, or at least not full rake being collected. Maybe that would be a better way to phrase. But there are many of the original tournaments that were created some time ago are still open. Some of them are only like 90% full. So that seems pretty relevant. Hawks will start Young, Horter, Prince, Collins, and Dedmon. That is as expected. Bagley or Jackson is Bagley for me at the moment. And yeah, we are coming down to it. Under a minute now. Oh, not a ton of stuff. As always on FanDuel, lots of overlay in the satellites, which is a thing that tends to be the case there. And here we go. I'm searching. How many Suns in winning lineups? I think most likely number is 2, then 1, pretty significantly. Might be 1, then 2. You'd have to think about it, but I'll go with 2 most likely. Like you asked me to guess it right now, it's probably 2 Suns, 3 Kings, 1, 1, and 1. Maybe 2, 2, and 2 Magic, 1 and 1. Right, don't by any means, try to stick to that structure, especially with 30 seconds to hell to go. But yeah. There we are, everyone. We are at lock. So we'll talk some ownership for a second. Keep an eye out for Aaron Gordon news. Iguodala out. Really? Right? It's kind of annoying. I seriously doubting it was super overexposed there. Gives you a little, yeah, with a hamstring. Iguodala out literally 8 seconds before lock. Okay. I think we have at least 8 seconds delay, so I wasn't going to help you at all with that one anyway. Does not do a metric ton. Let me revise some projections in some minutes and tell you what we can be looking at there as far as guys we can, sort of swap into and talk about. Probably most benefit ends up being McKinney, but let me check some of the. I think that he missed like 4 games earlier this year and then like 1 somewhere else. So let me check some logs and look at a couple things. Tyler Johnson, 15% on DK. So I stand corrected. See, like even there, I was right that the projection was wrong with 12. But even there, it was closer than I was. I said 20. It was off by 3%. I was off by 5. And most of the other stuff tends to be right on. So we will look at ownership in a second. The most recent game missed by Andre Iguodala was part of the 3-game stretch he missed in the middle of December. There was a game there against the Kings. We saw extra minutes out of Jerebko and McKinney. Let me look at a couple of the previous ones. Then Golden State came to town and absolutely wrecked their asses. Iguodala was out for that game, and again, Jerebko and McKinney filled in with the minutes. Jerebko getting more in both of those games. And in the one before that, Jerebko and McKinney filled in with the minutes. So yeah, Jerebko and McKinney. I already left both those guys ranked already in my pool because there's some reasonable chance of blowout, and they would both be on the court in the aforementioned blowout. Yeah, I will slightly prefer Jerebko between the two of them, but looking for an edge and trying to take down a whole tournament. I think those guys both make pretty compelling GPP plays now. Let's look at some DK ownership for the 3-game slate, and then who knows if I don't even know if I have access to. I got to see if my buddy happened to enter any of it. Take a peek at some ownership on the 2-gamer, or the 1-gamer rather, on FanDuel. What do we have on DK? A $300,000 fadeaway. I will say it's a pain in the ass for me, but the big slate and the big slate makes sense. I do. I don't know if anyone cares, but just my opinion. Like, I do think FanDuel makes a really strict mistake when they do this. Like, they do get more income by having, a sort of premium 1-game slate followed by a 2-game slate, but the product is just much worse. Moving from a 2-game slate to a 3-game slate is such a vast improvement that setting it aside to run 1 then 2 as opposed to 3 then 2 or 3 then 1, which they will get nominally more short-term entries, is just you're sacrificing product quality to a significant. Whomever said 15% on DK, I usually use the largest GPP as the standard for that. I have 17.3 here, so I did end up being just a hair closer than the projections. But I love that number. Maybe it doesn't work out. It's Tyler Johnson, don't get me wrong, but 4,400 starting point guard, 30 minutes, matchup with the Kings. I am semi-erect at 17% ownership if I am you. Who benefits most with Iguodala out? Alfonso McKinney and Jonas Jerebko. I slightly prefer Jerebko between the two. Will not affect any of the starters terribly significantly. Aaron Gordon, still a game-time decision. Beautiful. All right, ownership. Wow, DeAndre Ayton, 46%. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. Here's my whole day in 2 players. DeAndre Ayton, 46%. Willie Cauley-Stein, 12. Now, you won't get as good of a game as we got earlier this year during the meeting between Willie Cauley-Stein and Ayton, where you got 45 fantasy points out of Willie Cauley-Stein because there's almost no chance now he's playing into the mid-30s in minutes or something. But, 28 to 30 minutes, 40 fantasy points is not an unreasonable expectation. Well, I don't know about expectation, but certainly something I wouldn't be surprised to see happen here. So, let's go Sweet Dick Willie. DeAndre Ayton, 46%, most owned player on the slate. I got no problem with that. He is too cheap. He should cost 8K, not 7.5, not 6.9. So 6.9, nice. And yeah, objectively very good. I don't want him at 46%. Like, that's just a really big number when there are at least 5 centers on this slate I don't hate. You can get Cousins for a touch less. You can get Whiteside for a touch more. You can get Willie Cauley-Stein, who obviously I have some lingering appeal for. You can get Dedmon, although you'd probably play him at a forward spot. So 46, a little higher than I'd want. Like 35 would probably be about where I'd be. So it's not completely out of bounds. Bogdan, 40%. Yep. I do think the minutes come down. Again, it wasn't 40 like Popcorn says. It was 34. I do have less than that today. I have 31 or 32. But still 5,000 and Suns and yeah. De'Aaron Fox, 34. Okay, good job, Internet. Again, I didn't give you enough credit. And as soon as I say that, Josh Jackson, 33. I mean, that DK price isn't too bad. I guess that's fine. But I'd rather Kelly Oubre, who isn't that much less. Kelly Oubre, 29. Less time on the court coming off the bench than Josh Jackson next to Booker. So, especially if you play Booker, that's very easily Oubre for me. If you don't play Booker, Josh Jackson represents a fair amount of leverage there. But he healed 32. Seems just about right. Harrison Barnes, 26. Really happy to be over that. Guys, I got him projected for 36 minutes in a great matchup. Cheaper than all the other players we just listed. I know he's not as good as many of them. I guess not cheaper than all the other players. He is $100 more than Bogdan. But, you know, Fox, Josh Jackson is $1,200 more. Buddy Hield is $1,600 more. Kelly Oubre is $800 more. Harrison Barnes, slightly worse fantasy producer than those guys, but not by so much that he isn't the better play here. Devon Booker, 24%. I love. I'd want 35 or 40. He could be the high-scoring player on this slate. Wouldn't surprise me. Tyler Johnson, 17.3. I would want closer to 35 or 40. McCall Bridges, 13.2. Fine. Again, more of a cashy play for me, but certainly enough chance of an upside. I think more than 13.2. Again, I really want to stack the shit out of this game. Willie Cauley-Stein at 12. Love. Bagley, 9.5. I'm surprised. There's a lot of Bagley stands in the world. The prices obviously come up there a little bit, limited by his bench role. We didn't talk about Harry Giles, and I should have. I left him ranked and think he was just fine in tournaments. You don't want him in Willie, but Alec Burks, 3. I still think he's going to in the mid-teens in a minute. That seems a little too cute for me. Giles, 1.4, and Rashawn Holmes, 1.4. Like both those guys for basically the exact same reason. It only takes one sort of funny thing happening, and they get 25 minutes, and they both cost 3,500 or what have you, and can score 35 in 25 minutes and crack the slate for you. That's not likely. Bielitsa, 1%. That's probably 1% too high. Yogi Ferrell, 0.65. Yeah, he's going to get 48 minus De'Aaron Fox minutes. Elia Kobo, 0.43. That's probably about right. Non-zero seems right. I can see having a share or two. Jamal Crawford, 0.17. Getting really dicey now with Tyler in there. Bender, 0.09. Corey Brewer, 0.06. I don't think he played at all last game. I don't think I had him for minutes today. Troy Williams, 0.01. Costa Koufis, 0.01. Also largely out of the rotation. Wayne Ellington, be interesting. Frank Mason, double odds. And one share for one person. Bottom of the list, TJ Warren. Congratulations, you played yourself. That is it. I heard some more people messaging me tings. I will take a look at this. Does Iggy out get Boogie above 25 minutes? It has nothing to do with it. They could give some of Iggy's minutes to Boogie, but Boogie's sharing minutes with Looney and whomever in a blowout run, and it doesn't really have much to do with that. Can you talk FD specifics for a sec after talking ownership? Sure, I'll stay on for a minute and do that. Apparently you didn't save your Holmes 8 in group, so I have them together in 5 out of 6, so that's fun. Well, I will say this, and it is one of the issues with... I think if I were still allowed to play, I would very significantly, there's a real chance I would play only a lineup or 2 a day, because there are just more issues that come into play when you play a lot of lineups. Your ability to adjust is usually to some degree hampered. Your ability to customize is hampered. And all you need is one fucking thing like that, and you can lose a week's profits or a month's profits. And I don't know, it's a really interesting situation. I like MME as a method to produce, but your process is superlatively important when you're really managing the best way to make money long term. But on a 3-game slate, I don't feel that bad if I have lots of Ayton and Holmes together. It's not great. Bender's role in there is sort of an enduring concern, but they can both get there. Like, Holmes costs 3,500. So all you need for that to work out is for Ayton to be good in his 32 minutes, which wasn't impossible, and Holmes to be good now in his 16. Now that's a little less likely, but I wouldn't be stringing up the new shed, I guess is what I'm saying. There's a real chance you can get 45 out of Ayton and 26 out of Holmes and still be in contention to win everything that you're in. So wouldn't kill yourself on that. On FanDuel, I will look at in a second. Fear, DK, Cash, Cousins, or Young open utility spot. In Cash, that's really close for me. I don't have a strong take here. I have them projected very similarly. I think I'm going to say DeMarcus Cousins, but the minutes are one thing. The back-to-back for the Hawks is another. There's a lot going on with that decision, but I'm going to slightly incline towards Cousins. Yeah, I mean, you've made a stand with Rashawn Holmes, but I wouldn't be overly despondent if I were you. Aaron Gordon or Trae Young on DK? Is Aaron Gordon in? Aaron Gordon, a game-time decision still. Okay, so if Aaron Gordon is in, I would rather play him than Trae Young. Yeah, pretty simple. That's easy. Pretty significantly. The ownership should be well less. The matchup is well better in the same game, and so yeah. Thanks. A double live before. You want a K on the early... Yeah, we had a lot of people do very well on the early DK slate. And we were off. Tyler Johnson with a quick turnover. Nice. And Willie Cauley-Stein with a quick dime. You guys, you're doing your stats wrong. Willie, you're supposed to be getting the turnovers, and Tyler, you're supposed to be getting the assists. Get it together, team. Would you completely stay away from having Holmes and Ayton together? Yes. I don't think if I was building 150 lineups on any site, I would want to have... Holmes and Ayton at this point. There's enough sort of cheap value forwardy guys that I'd rather have Ayton and Jerebko or Ayton and McKinney or Ayton and Bam or, you know what I'm saying? And most likely there's a really significant negative correlation there because your most likely way to get a tournament winning score out of Rashawn Holmes is for DeAndre Ayton to sprain an ankle or get 3 fouls in 6 minutes. So yes, I would try to stay totally away from it. That being said, it is not difficult to imagine a universe where a lineup with Ayton and Holmes and it wins a tournament. It happens once a week where I look at a tournament-winning lineup and I go, that was a really dumb decision. But that doesn't mean, it means it's worse than whatever. But on a 3-game slate especially, again, you could win a tournament getting, you can get 30 out of Holmes in 18 minutes and get 45 out of Ayton in 30 minutes and poof, you still won a tournament. So, yeah, it's not ideal. I wouldn't be jumping up and down and doing cartwheels. Yeah, early slate apparently went fairly well for most people. I'm looking at my buddy's lineup in there. And yeah, he cashed all tournaments with a lineup of Embiid, Kuzma, Caldwell Pope, Nurkic, who ended up with like 35. So disappointing. I wanted more out of him. Dwight Powell ended up well better than Clear. Yeah, he just played all the guys I said play. So, yes. Lillard, Burke, Redick, Powell, Nurkic, Caldwell Pope, Kuzma, and Embiid. So, yeah. I imagine the easiest way for me to tell whether or not, we collectively did well is to generally look at my buddy's lineups who doesn't know diddly shit about basketball and just sort of does what I say is a good idea. And he did well on DK. Didn't cash shit on FanDuel, where he had a lot of the plays I liked on FanDuel, including, LeBron James and Rajon Rondo, because those guys didn't work out. So, thumbs up to you, though, buddy. You ran Embiid out there when he was still questionable. I like that play. And that worked. You got the 60 out of him. But did not get the cash on that one. So there it is. Yeah. Ooh, he cashed the single game on FanDuel. Crushed it. Top 1%. Look at that. You know why? JaVale McGee. God, look at all that beautiful JaVale McGee. You know what's better than JaVale McGee? JaVale McGee with 1.5 times points. You, sir, are an officer and a scholar. So yeah, so let me talk about I almost forgot. I almost got off the air. Let me talk about the 2-gamer on FanDuel real quick. Let's see if I can even get access to it. Curry, Durant, or Vooch on DK. I like Vooch most of those players significantly. The ownership is significantly disparate between those three guys, so I would be more inclined to... I have Vooch projected the highest pretty significantly. Then Durant, then Curry, for what it's worth. And the other two will both be so low, so it's Vooch if you're looking for raw points and you're not trying to differentiate, or if you're trying to get more of that game. If you're going to play one of the others, I would rather play Durant. So it depends sort of what you're trying to do. All right, the NBA main slate on FanDuel with all the prizes and stuff. Let's see. Okay, so here it is. All right, I've got it. 7:30, 2 games. Okay, so let me give me a minute. Take a better look at everything by position here, and I'll just do a quick position by position breakdown on FanDuel. So for the second time today, point guard is an abomination unto the Lord. The playable point guards by any real definition of that would be Briscoe, Lin, Augustine, Young, and Curry. Ugh. That's a beating. Oh, that's what happens when there's only 4 teams and one of them has a starting point guard who plays small forward on FanDuel. I don't think I have a strong take here. Yeah. It's a shit position. I like spending less on shit positions. But again, I'm a big... it's tough because of the 4 games playing on this slate. I really only like one of them, and you can't play 9 guys from Orlando, so clearly you're going to have to make some spots here. So I will just briefly say you can play Lin and hope he excels in his minutes. I would probably rather play Lin than Briscoe because the ownership should be lower. But again, if you're going to try to play a lot of the second game and play for the blowout, then I'd prefer playing Briscoe from the first game and stuff like that. Still no Aaron Gordon news, obviously, so that would affect everything. Curry at 92, just fine, obviously. Trae Young at 75, just fine, obviously. No strong takes there. Looking at shooting guard, still not making my pants roll up and down. My socks roll up and down. Nothing is rolling up and down for me. Playable guys here would really be Bazemore, Waiters, Huerter, Wade, Ross, Fournier, and Thompson. So at least now we have like 7 guys you can play. I just do not have a ton here. You know, Huerter's going to get his 27 minutes, give or take 2, in a not thrilling matchup for 5,500. Meh. Wade is whatever. Waiters is now, not as good with Wade back in there, but certainly he can spike an upside at only 4,400. Bazemore's going to play 18, 20 minutes for 4,100. Meh. Sort of like Lin in that unlikely he gets there, but the ownership will be lower than a lot of these guys in the mid-5s. So the chalk is going to be a lot of Clay, Fournier, Ross. I don't have a real preference of these guys at their current prices, so I'm just going to move on, but that's the list of the guys I think are playable. Small forward, you're going to have a ton of Kevin Durant. I'm not surprised, as again, there's like no one to spend up for at small forward. You can get Justice Winslow as a starting point guard for 6K playing small forward here. Josh Richardson, 6,700. Jonathan Isaac, 5,900. Doesn't feel great unless Gordon is out. If Gordon is out, he'll be pretty popular, and it should be. Again, the position is shit. 5,300 for Prince. Real chance he gets back over 30-something minutes pretty safely. It seems like he's going to get at least 26, 28. Small 2-game slate. Certainly can't really go that wrong there. And then, yeah, if I'm punting at this point, I play McKinney instead of Bembry or Wes Iwundu. Power forward, John Collins without minutes limits, $8,000 is significant, but not super worried about the matchup. Aaron Gordon will probably be my favorite guy if he plays because he'll just be artificially lowered. Draymond, one of my favorite Warriors, especially on FanDuel because, again, 3 points a steal, 3 points a block, doesn't need to get his offensive production, which is the largest limiting force for the other guys. Probably slightly prefer Olynyk to James Johnson, but no strong preference there. Bam Adebayo I like in tournaments. Kem Birch, if we find out that Aaron Gordon is out, becomes, basically at the minimum reasonable for me. And Jonas Jerebko, I think I would actually slightly prefer there, unless Jarrell Martin is starting, when he would take that spot. And then looking at center for a second, super chalky 75% owned Vooch. Again, there's not a lot of places to spend up and a lot of halfway decent value, so he's going to be the highest owned center by a lot. No issue if you want to try to pivot to Whiteside or Cousins. or Deadman at 5,400. Looney at 41, if you're playing for the blowout, makes some sense. Although even in the blowout, he tends to get yanked, and you get, he plays a bit of it, and then they give Jordan Bell the last 4 or 5 minutes. So, meh. Alex Len not out of play for me on a 2-game slate at $3,900. I'd rather play him than the aforementioned Jordan Bell. So there it is, friends. We are at lock. An hour and 10 minutes to that last game, making a last check of my Aaron Gordon stuff. No news still. Feel free to tweet me some messages if you have them. Thanks for joining me 2 times today. Much like my wife, you were likely surprised that we were able to go 2 times today, but that's how it works when I get my pills up in me. Yeah, congrats to those of you who won on the early slate. I will be back, I'm 99% sure, tomorrow. There are only a few days left until we get into the All-Star break, by the way. So let me go ahead and look at this bye day schedule real quickly. So there is, 9 tomorrow, I'll do that. 5, 11, 3, and then we get into the break, obviously, over the weekend. So probably do every day this week, and then be off. I imagine I will do an All-Star game show. Maybe I'll see if I can get the fine people at Awesemo.com to host some sort of All-Star Squares bucket contest something for a free month or something. I imagine I can talk them into that. And then, so I imagine I'll do the next 4 days in sequence and then be off for the 6 or 7 after that. And back on the 21st when the break ends. So hope you had time today to watch some basketball. Everybody enjoy yourself, and best of luck in your contest.